Thank you for tuning in to another edition of the Formula Review. I'm your host, Charles May, and today I'm very lucky to be sharing with you a 2012 Audi R8 V8. And I know what you're saying to yourself, Charles, you've driven the R8 GT Spider before. Why review another R8? Well, this one is very, very special, and I'm going to show you exactly why. We're going to take it out here on the road. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy. All right, away we go. And this very, very special Audi R8 V8. Man, it sounds really, really good for a V8. Very, very loud, as you could say. It's got a nice growl to it. And for will it scrape, not much of an issue because the R8 is actually a pretty good daily driver. You know, pretty good clearance, not very problematic, very user-friendly. So as I mentioned, we've driven the R8 before here on the Formula Review from San Francisco Sports Cars. The R8 GT Spider, which is that Suzuka gray white paint, looks absolutely magnificent, drives phenomenal. It's the V10 version, it's the Spider version. There's only 333 of them made or whatever. So, you know, again, you might be asking yourself, why are we driving another R8? This one I really, really want to drive because A, it's a manual, and B, it's got a supercharger on it. So right behind me, I don't know if you can see it, actually it's a little below me, is a VF Engineering supercharger, which really makes this car pack quite a punch, even when compared to the V10 version. So that's why I want to share this car with you today, because it's a manual and it's supercharged, and even the new Lamborghini Huracans and the new R8s, you can't get them in a manual anymore, and you can supercharge them, but the combination of the two really makes this car a driving pleasure. You will not even care that this is a V8 version after you've driven this one. So that's why I want to share it with you guys here today. I'm very, very excited to take it out on the road. All right, gonna pull in here to get some gas because that supercharger is thirsty. It's actually pretty fuel efficient, especially since you have the V8 version, so it's not terribly bad. It's got a low tank here, so I'm gonna fill up with some gas and go out here and enjoy this beauty on this lovely California day. I'm so glad the rain held off today. Getting back to that time of season where it's be raining a little bit more. All right, all gassed up, ready to roll. There we go. Visibility out the back is actually pretty dang good too. You have the rear view camera, but not really even needed. All right, here we go. Coming up on my favorite part of these drives, and that is, of course, the tunnel run. I'm gonna crack the windows a little bit for you, give you a nice downshift. Oh yeah, that sounds absolutely amazing. Oh, it is not what you would expect from a supercharger. It doesn't really have that high-pitched whine. It's got a deeper growl. very, you know, a lot more bass than what you would expect from a supercharger. You know, a lot of times it's that very, very high-pitched whine, and this one, you don't really hear that at all. It's actually kind of shocking. That's pretty much what you think about when you hear a supercharger. And that's why I like turbos so much more with the wastegate sounds and stuff like that. But this one just sounds really, really raspy. It almost sounds like a V10. You know, if you're driving along this car alongside, you might not even be able to tell it's a supercharger. So that's a really, really, really nice sound coming through there in the tunnel. And again, just raspy, really, really nice. Woo! Wow. There's moments when the supercharger literally just feels like it went on like steroids, and it just kicks you in the back. And that's one of my favorite things about this car is that, yeah, the R8 has, you know, decent amount of horsepower and torque, but just that added bonus, it's about 120 extra horsepower. I think about 128 more pounds of torque, which the torque is what really gets you. It gives you that nice kick in the back. Even with these really comfortable seats, you can kind of feel it. When that supercharger comes on, it's, you know, depending on how hard you're pressing the throttle, it's can be very gradual, or it can really just really kick you in the back. Again, you know, you're getting more horsepower and torque than you would out of the V10, so this is really, really impressive. It's just the right amount too. It's not silly fast like we see with some other cars where it's 700 horsepower, 800 horsepower, stuff that you want to use on a daily basis, but it's something you can use on a daily basis. You know, 550 horsepower is a really, really nice number. And man, just rolling through those manuals, even like when you're rolling through the manual when you're downshifting, going back and forth here in the gauge shifts, and even it's got a little bit of that exhaust gargle when you're going, you know, downshifting through the gears. It's not like the Lamborghini Huracan or some of the newer R8s where it's kind of, you know, it's really almost obnoxious to some point, but it's a really, really just nice little sound of the, you know, the gargles with exhaust coming through, and the supercharger's got that extra growl. So the car has been transformed, you know. Even if it's got no modified exhaust, the car sounds better than it does stock. It's absolutely for sure. The first thing I love about this car is it is a sleeper. What do I mean by that? Yes, it's a supercar. People look up to it and say, hey, that looks pretty cool. But the first thing that any car enthusiast, even myself, I'm guilty of this, is I go up to R8, I say, hey, is it the V8 or is it the V10? Especially when these cars first came out, everyone is hating on the V8s. You know, why don't you get the V10? It's the same one they put in the Lamborghini. If another person comes up on this car and they're like, oh, that's the V8 version, chances are they're going to get a little surprised, because this supercharger enables this car to be more powerful than the V10 with a substantially larger amount of torque, even more than the horsepower differential. Difference. It's really, really impressive how quick this car is with that VF Engineering supercharger on it, and that's something people are not going to really expect. The car is not flashy. It doesn't have the crazy wing on the back or anything like that. It doesn't have some sort of really crazy wheels. This car is spec'd very, very well. Piano black accents, the Alcantara roof, the gunmetal gray wheels, the carbon fiber blade, really, really spec. But this car is a great sleeper. So if you're looking for, you know, a car that can speak for its own in terms of performance and what it does, this is the one. The sun finally came out today, dried up all the rain. The second thing I really love about this car is the fact that it's really reliable. The Audi R8 in general is a pretty reliable car, you know, just in terms of like maintenance. And one of my least favorite things is having to spend one of my days in a service center or a dealership getting my car fixed. Especially when you start tacking on things like turbochargers and superchargers, you usually compromise that. But VF Engineering's done a really great job. I mean, the overall goal when they built this was to make sure that it's extremely reliable. It performs. It doesn't compromise the daily driving functionality of the car. This feels like I could drive this across the country with no problem. Very, very comfortable seats. So again, the fact that it's a super reliable car really speaks volumes to me. Again, anytime you put forced induction on a car, chances are you're going to have a problem down the road. But I've known several people that own cars with the VF Engineering setup, and it's really, really reliable. Thousands and thousands of miles, and before you probably won't have any issues, if, you know, probably small issues or whatever, but just proper maintenance, you know, like you would, keep it up, will probably allow this car to be just as reliable as it was if it was stock. That really says a lot for the way this supercharger is built. It takes up like hardly any space in the engine bay. There's not a lot of extra things you have to put on there. Still looks very, very clean. You're not risking heat soak or anything like that. Just it really speaks in volumes to me, is that a car like this, where you go ahead and modify it, it's still reliable as the day when you first bought it. That really is very impressive. Ooh. One thing that I noticed is that even on the downshifts, the exhaust gives you that nice little kind of gargling, burble noises that you see a lot in the like Lamborghini Huracans and the new R8s. It's almost to a point where it's obnoxious, but this one's really tastefully done. When you go through those downshifts, it's nice to hear that little, even when you left the gas and the throttle a bit. Yeah, really nice. The third thing I really love about this car is the fact that it is this manual. It's really clean, circular design here. The metal gates, where when you're rolling through them, give you those really beautiful just clicks. One of my favorite cars to drive was the 550 Maranello for that reason. I mean, the car itself is a masterpiece to drive, but the fact that it has that gated metal manual shifter is really nice. The design of this car, the shifter, it's got this like textured design on the side of it, so you get a nice grip, and it's metal. It's really adds to the driving experience. And you know, that's something that we're not going to see really much anymore. Some companies like Porsche are still putting it in the GT3, but you can't get a new Lamborghini Huracan with a manual. You can't get a new R8 with a manual. I really think these cars are going to be some of the best ones to drive in the future. You know, and honestly, I just can't get enough of this manual. It's actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be. So that's the third thing that I really love about this R8. Ooh, that sounds so good. Oh, I'll never get tired of that. The type of person I can see owning this Audi R8 V8 with the VF Engineering Supercharger is somebody who loves a car that has all the horsepower you would ever need. It's a bit of a sleeper in terms of what people would see when they think about this car. I mean, yes, it's a supercar, but it's very subtle. It's tastefully done. The way that the interior has been spec'd out, the outside the wheels, doesn't have some crazy wing on the back to draw attention. So somebody who really loves the Audi brand, and again, probably one of the nicest, most calm, comfortable interiors I've ever been in, especially with that supercharger. I expected a lot more noise to be coming through the firewall, but the interior cabin is like so quiet, and honestly, I'm really enjoying it more than I thought I would. And I'm actually enjoying this car more than the V10 GT Spider, and which is hard for me to say because that car has really cool canards on it, the Suzuka gray white paint, the carbon fiber accents everywhere. I mean, that car is really amazing, but the fact that this car has the manual with the supercharger, those two, when you put them together, is an amazing experience. You know, I think actually this car, if you get that kit on it, it has to be the manual. It doesn't work with the Hartronic. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. But yeah, this car, I mean, it's the combination of the manual and the supercharger. It allows you to do some really cool stuff in terms of the way you feel you have control over the car. I always feel like I have way more control over the car with a manual than I do with the Hartronic or the paddle shifters, and I feel like the Lamborghini Gallardo that I at least drove, I can shift, you know, quicker than that car. I feel like I have way more control, which really is what boils down to me. I don't want to feel like I don't have control over a car in turn when I'm shifting gears and accelerating. That's something I definitely don't want. But yeah, that's the kind of person I can see owning this car. Somebody who knows and values what it's like to drive a manual with forced induction. I mean, it is a really special experience, especially since we're seeing less manuals in the modern day. You know, Lamborghini does not make a manual Huracan. They don't make a manual R8 anymore. So this is a very special car, and that's the kind of person I can see owning it, as someone who can appreciate that fact that this is very special. So thank you for tuning in to another edition of the Formula Review. Thank you to Brad for letting me share this R8 V8 with the supercharger on the back with you. Very special experience. I hate to say this, and it usually happens to me every single time, but I love this car more than I thought I was going to do, and that's something, you know, I have some pretty high expectations going in, and it's pretty cool to be constantly blown away, especially with this car. Really awesome. The R8, you know, it's a 2012, and yet it's still an amazing driving pleasure. This car is low mileage, about 18,000 miles. The price is around $109,000. So if you're interested, please reach out to Brad at San Francisco Sports Cars. He can give you more information. Again, really nice creature comfort. It's got a Bang & Olufsen sound system, the navigation, DVD player, iPad, carbon fiber side blade, piano black decor. I mean, really just very nicely spec'd, not terribly flashy. Let me know in the comments below, what is your favorite supercar that has forced induction, whether it's supercharger or turbocharger, and it's a manual. That's the requirement. It has to be a manual. My favorite's probably the Lamborghini Superleggera. with the twin turbos from Underground Racing. And of course, it's a 6-speed manual. It's really cool to see them row through those gears with that much horsepower behind the the block. It's just really cool to see how quickly they can get up and go. And honestly, I think this is going to be one of the most special cars and moving forward in the future with the lack of manufacturers that make manuals anymore. I think this is a really great buy. So thank you again for tuning in to another edition of the Formula Review, and I'll see you on the next one.